into the Cypher. Prepare for another all night.
On the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Bulls are now up 3-1, and they look to close the Nets out in Brooklyn.
No sleep till Brooklyn.
Maya finally got us.
I got my song.
Finally got a song.
Got my song.
Welcome back to the Sports Cypher here on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. And now, as we go into this whole rap about the first round so far, we're going to talk with our man Demonze Spruiel and get the Bulls' perspective.
Yes,
of this whole thing.
from the fans' perspective.
Right, sitting in his living room with the beer in his hand and himself in the other and all that stuff.
I wish that was the case yesterday watching the game. It was my daughter's first birthday. Okay. Happy birthday, Grace. Number one.
Yes.
One of many. So Daddy was out barbecuing.
Okay.
And I was running back and forth. After a while, I was like, you know what? I'm not leaving. Them dogs say they can burn a little bit. Y'all like them a little black anyway. They can burn a little bit. But, man, what a game. Yeah. Nate Robinson. You love him. You hate him. But yesterday you had to love him. 34 points overall. Dropped 27 points in the fourth quarter and overtime combined. Yeah. Now, if you did not have Nate Robinson on this team, and I know a lot of people out there don't like him, but if you didn't have him, you wouldn't be in this situation right now in a chance to close it out in Brooklyn. Up 3-1 right now. You know what? I was not the biggest believer in the Bulls to win this series. I think they had the best chance of advancing if they played the Brooklyn Nets. But I didn't think they could probably beat them. But, man, I got to say, I'm shocked as a fan. I didn't think they'd be up 3-1, maybe 2-2, maybe going 7.
3 games straight.
3 games straight.
And remember, they have a regular season track record where they didn't lose or win 4 games.
Now that was my next point. Now they have not won 4 games in a row this whole entire season. So would I be shocked that they came back to Chicago and had the chance of closing in Game 6? No, I wouldn't be. But from a fan's perspective, I hope they win. Now one of the side notes, as I said, I was barbecuing during the game, and this was about going into the second timeout. My wife, Chanel, she was like, okay, let's turn on some dance music for everybody can start dancing. No. Turn it off. Turn it down. Turn it down. No, she's like, she gave me Faruq, that evil eye.
Yeah, very familiar.
This is your daughter's first birthday. Sorry, baby, I do not care. Turn it down. Turn it down. And 2 more overtimes, they finally won. Okay, you turn it back up. But, man, what a game yesterday. But shout out to Kirk Heinrich, who played at least 61 minutes.
Yeah.
Joe Kim Noah on one good foot, gutting it out for over 40 minutes. Luol Deng. Or Nazir Muhammad with the big putback to ice the game. Chicago's very own.
Yeah.
Man, this was a great game, as they call it, Maya, an instant classic.
This is one of those playoff games you will remember and you will talk about from years from now. You will.
My only thing, I hate to be the cynic, but you kind of knew I was going to be.
Of course, because you were a cynic when you were on, I think, Twitter that day.
I see this has to be an emotionally draining game for both teams, but the Bulls, with all their injury issues and their shortness of their roster, it's going to take them a while, I think, to recover from a game like this. I honestly would be surprised if they won tomorrow night. I'd be shocked if they were able to close this out in New York.
I think it's a 50-50 split. I mean, the mantra of see red, absolutely. See red like blood in the water, be a shark. But you're right, because they have to bounce back with the kind of injuries that they have. Yeah. But at the same time, sometimes that wills you to win. You talk about being a lead in the NBA right now. Obviously, the Heat has wrapped up their series, against the Bucks, took it in 4. Oklahoma City is pretty much knocking on that door as well to wrap it up. For the Bulls, if nothing else, what gives this season so much more validity is if they can just go ahead and take this 4-1. For them, they should feel good to say, okay, we accomplished a whole lot when nobody thought we would really accomplish nothing in the absence of the rose that wasn't on the floor.
But I always saw this, though, as the preferred matchup rather than the Bulls falling into that 6.
Yeah, Indiana, they did not want to play Indiana.
Indiana this would not have been happening. So Brooklyn, but my whole thing, the Bulls are so schizo. I just can't say with confidence that they'll be able to close this thing out on Monday. Even the game after that. I can still see this going 7 games.
Well, I could see it too. I really can. You never know what can happen. But I would think if they do believe in themselves, which they do, and they want to keep advancing, and as Maya said, want to prove people wrong. You see, Miami just won today without Dwayne Wade. They just won today. So you know that we're a team, speaking as Bulls, gives the Miami Heat some issues, some problems. You know, we play them tough. You
Exactly.
want to wrap up this series
Yes.
and say, you know what, let's go ahead and take on these guys.
And it's like a week off rest, you know,
Yeah.
they will get from this. So that's to wrap this up tomorrow.
That's the
is
big
extremely
incentive.
important. And here's what's really interesting.
So
is
hold on, even with the Heat closing it out, they would still, if the Bulls won
It's
tomorrow,
almost-
it would be a week off.
it's
still.
almost like a week off, yeah.
When the game one
because
be?
because
When will
other,
game one be?
because other teams,
see.
the series are still rolling. So round one does not close out because other series may end up going 7 games. This is where they get a luxury to this.
Okay.
It's,
Right.
it's because
And
of that.
TV.
Because of TV.
Yeah.
They don't go into round 2 until round 1's wrapped up.
Okay.
But what you have to say about this, now here's the thing, like you said, Demonze, because they have not won 4 straight, they would accomplish something
Yes.
that they didn't do
Yes.
in the regular season. And if you look at them statistically from game 1 to game 3, they got better every single game. For instance, the first game they were awful with points in the paint. They dominated points in the paint
Next
the
game.
3 games that they won. You know, the first game they didn't have, they only had 2 starters in double digits. By the time you get to game 4, they have all 5 players are in double digits. So a lot of the things statistically that they weren't performing well at, they did it in game 4. So
did.
they've gotten better progressively with every single game.
And don't forget, Joe Johnson is also battling for other Brooklyn Nets. He's also battling plantar fasciitis too. Now he's more of a guy. Yes, he's a guard, so he has to deal with shooting more, kind of driving and cutting. Although he looked great yesterday.
I couldn't believe he made that shot.
I can believe it. It was terrible defense. Come on,
But
Gibson.
still,
Come
he
on,
never,
Ty.
he never
Carlos.
makes big shots.
I'm not gonna say he
You know what?
never makes them. He makes them.
Yeah, we'll ask Jake about
We'll ask
that.
Jake, what has Joe Johnson been since he's transitioned, obviously, over to the Nets?
Yeah.
Is he that big game? Think about it, because at the end of the 4th quarter, which I was like, PJ Calissimo, are you really letting Darren Williams hold on to the ball for the final shot like that?
Mm-hmm.
This is the playoffs. The fact that you took such a grave risk that did not pay off, and whose hand was the ball not in? It was not in Joe Johnson's hand.
Right.
Which means he's not seen to be that clutch, big shot.
When he was in Atlanta, he made some big shots. Now let me ask you, who was the comment? Was Steve Kerr one of the commentators yesterday?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
He kept asking this question: what took so long for Joe Johnson to get into the game? Like he finally showed up in the 4th and overtime. Yeah, I know that's when you want to really show up. But Brooklyn could have closed this game out. They could have came, made it really close.
They
And
had a
Bulls had to come
14-point
out.
lead with 3 minutes left.
Exactly. Where was Joe Johnson then? So that does go to your point, Maya. Like, what guy are you going to get? But he showed up when he showed up.
That's probably
When
why
he should
he's
have showed
not
up,
in
say.
Atlanta anymore. That the value of him was not that great because he was not that close it out type player. So hence they dealt him.
Yeah.
Because if his value was that great, he would still be in Atlanta right now.
He did keep them in the game. Props to Joe Johnson for keeping them to the game. But the Bulls pulled out one of the best overtime games, probably next to the Bulls
That
Boston
Boston game,
Celtics a couple of years ago. I think that was D Rose
That was
rookie
rookie
year.
year, yeah.
Rookie year.
Well, we have a replacement game on that. Isn't that great? And think the bench put up 57 points.
Yeah.
Of course, because Nate
Nate
Robinson
Robinson.
had
Yeah.
34 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, but all 5 starters in double digits.
Yeah.
I mean, they performed better, obviously, with, at the 3-point. They just did a lot of things better
Yeah.
in this game.
Because they had trouble scoring all series. And that was really particularly with game 3 and game 1. They really had trouble scoring. The offense finally woke up yesterday.
And the other thing that was one of the key things, that if they can manage to get all 5 starters going, if they can still be dominant in the paint, at the end of the 4th, I don't know what's going on in Coach Thibs' minds, stop asking your bigs to shoot at the 3. Get in the paint. Like, did you notice in the 4th quarter that they got into foul trouble because Brooklyn was like, well, you know what? We're going to keep charging at the basket.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to draw the fouls. Okay, that methodology, it does really work. There are times I wonder what goes on in Thibs' mind when he does things because it just doesn't make any sense.